Surprise, surprise. Wouldn't you know it, Elizabeth Warren just got caught lying again. Well, I can't lie. She didn't just get caught, but she got exposed in May and nobody really caught it because the story never took off because, well, some of your leading progressive voices have been so busy protecting Elizabeth Warren while simultaneously blacking out or attacking Tulsi Gabbard that they've been too busy to, do these things that us journalists are supposed to do, like hold politicians accountable. But I digress. Really quick before we get started, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to comment on the video. Make sure you stay subscribed. It also helps us in the algorithms as well. Of course, hey, help the show grow. Donate into our Patreon. We're almost at 500 Patreon subscribers. You can click on the link in the description below to help us do that. So, it turns out that Elizabeth Warren actually did take PAC money. We were misled. She straight up lied to us. And not just PAC money, but very specifically corporate PAC money. The money that she said she wasn't going to take. People have been defending her saying, oh, I'm not going to take money. She's not taking money now. It's okay if she takes it in the general because she's going against Trump. Let's look at what this article says. It's from the Gloucester? We're going to go with Gloucester Times. That's a weird word to say. I'm not going to lie. So it says here, as she runs for president, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren has pledged not to accept PAC money from lobbyists, political action committees, or special interest groups. Warren, one of 22 Democrats seeking the party's nomination to challenge President Donald Trump in 2020, has sworn off swanky fundraisers, big checks from wealthy donors, and the flow of PAC money that typically permeates a presidential campaign. The pledge is a key plank of her campaign, and she references it in speeches and in fundraiser pitches. So she's lying about her money to raise more money. Perfectly ethical and progressive, I'm sure. In one of her emails, she said this: "You won't see Elizabeth Warren take a dime." You know how she gets all frantic? We're going to try to read her. You won't see Elizabeth Warren take a dime in federal registered lobbyist corporate PAC or PACs of any kind. That was in the email she sent off. It said, you won't see Elizabeth Warren cozying up to billionaires and nudge them to dump buckets of cash in a super PAC for her. I'm a fighter. A fighter. All right. So it says, however, contrary to what Elizabeth Warren has been saying, a review of Warren's reports to the Federal Elections Commission suggests that pledge was disingenuous. Gasp! I know it's really hard for people to believe that Elizabeth Warren is a liar, even though I said this the other day. That's the difference between Elizabeth Warren and all of the other neoliberals running. Elizabeth Warren is the best liar because she is, well, one, she's just really good at it, right? She is really good at lying. I'm not going to take that away from her. But she's been on the camera so much for wagging her finger, like and talking about doing stuff, not actually doing anything, talking about doing things that people have protected her even. So she feels now she's comfortable with getting away with lying. But like I said, she's the best liar in the race. Biden has the opposite problem. Biden tells the truth all the time about how he feels. In his head, the truth is good. The truth in his mind is good. It ain't really. So, and then he eventually lies, but he lies too late. He already done told the truth on himself before he starts lying. But let's continue. He needs to take some lessons from Warren. That's what he should do. So, she transferred $10 million. $10 million. You heard it here. In leftover campaign cash from her Senate run last year and a political action committee she operates with other candidates according to disclosures filed with the FEC. Wow. Yeah. It's a bit problematic, don't you think? A little bit. See, the problem with Warren being comfortable with transferring that money, it's not necessarily that she transferred the money. That's not the biggest problem. It's a big problem, but it's not the biggest one. The biggest one is that she has been disingenuously fundraising off this idea that she is in such desperate need for money that is because that she has to go through individuals to do it, and that is because she's not taking quote unquote PAC money, quote unquote corporate money. But as we have seen, that's demonstrated to be false. But even more so, the bigger problem that I see here is that if this was Biden, if this was Kamala, God forbid, if this was Tulsi, oh, bruh. If this was Bernie, we never have to worry about this with Bernie, right? But if this was anybody else, Lil baby Jesus, this article came out in May. It's mid-June. No one's covered this. I didn't even know about it. But that's the problem. For some reason, Warren is being protected. I really can't explain it. I don't understand the logic. I do, but I'm not going to go into all of that. I get some of the logic behind it, and it's very vain, it's very shallow, and it's very cliquey. You know, referring to a particular brand of feminism in the form of a second wave, if you catch my drift. She's being protected. And I guarantee that nobody else would do a video on this other than the people here at the MCSC network. So that's the other problem. If this is anybody else, we would all know about it. But Warren is being protected as a progressive. Question. She took corporate money before. She plans on taking corporate money in the general. How can you be a progressive if one of the core pillars of progressivism, as we know it today, as we would say was created and revolutionized by Bernie Sanders' run in 2016, right? I don't think anybody would disagree with that. How can you be a progressive taking corporate money? If Tulsi was taking corporate money, the same people who would defend Elizabeth Warren would be thrashing her. We can't trust her to take corporate money. That would have been the end of the conversation. There would be nothing else for them to hear of Tulsi. But Elizabeth Warren gets protected. Interesting. Look at, it also said in the email, by the way, as demonstrated in the article, you're not going to see me cozying up to billionaires and asking for them to give me money. Elizabeth Warren's multi-billionaire dollars. Thanks to Philosoph Rob on Twitter for providing this information and doing the research here. Elizabeth Warren's multi-billionaire donors. Bill Gates, Amy Goldman, Lauren Powell Jobs, Henry Laufer, Haim Saban. Only good thing he's ever done was Power Rangers. Other than that, he's a Zionist prick. George Soros, Steven Spielberg, Thomas Steyer. Most of those billionaires also gave to Hillary Clinton. None have donated to Bernie Sanders. And none of those, of course, have donated to Tulsi Gabbard either. And then Rob actually provides the FEC link for that if you want to go to his Twitter account to check it out. So then the next question would have to be, the next logical question, why do these people feel so comfortable Why do these billionaires feel so comfortable donating to Elizabeth Warren, but not Bernie Sanders and not Tulsi Gabbard? Well, then you would have to ask the same question. Why do these television stations, CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post as a publication, why do all these people feel so comfortable saying that Elizabeth Warren is a progressive? She's a progressive that's going to overtake Bernie. She's more progressive than Bernie on some issues. Interesting. Well, how can that be? Why do they want to prop up Elizabeth Warren, but not Bernie or Tulsi? Why do the billionaires want to give money to Elizabeth Warren, but not Bernie or Tulsi? And weirdly enough, those Elizabeth Warren takes PAC money and super PAC money, or and was more specifically corporate lobbying money. But, well, Bernie takes PAC money from unions, but Tulsi doesn't take any PAC money. But like I said, if Tulsi was taking was pretending that's the whole thing about it. She's being disingenuous, pretending like she did not use or take the correct thing to do. If you really want to be progressive in your financing, turn that money away, give it back. But she didn't do that. But she's running as if she had done that. Interesting. This matters because, look, we live in 2019. A lot of us have had 2 jobs in our lives. Right? Cool. You can have 2 jobs. You can even have 2 bosses. But I guarantee you the boss that pays you more, that's the one you're going to answer to. And if you believe the chickens are never going to come home to roost, then you would be wrong. The DNC wouldn't be propping her up. Neera Tanden wouldn't be celebrating her. Billionaires wouldn't be donating to her. MSM wouldn't be covering her if she was a legitimate progressive. I'm not saying that Elizabeth Warren isn't liberal. Elizabeth Warren is probably the bare minimum that you should expect from a regular Democrat. The problem is most corporate Democrats might as well be Republicans. But she's the bare minimum. She is stagnation personified. She's stagnation personified. She's all about the status quo with incremental changes, but maintenance of the status quo. That's what her job is. So, it's weird because she always talks about like corruption and government and standing up for the little guy and all this good stuff. There's a problem with that, though. You can't stand up for the little guy while you're still taking money from the big guy. So a key example of this would be her anti-corruption legislation. I don't know if you are familiar with this, but it was February, end of January, beginning of February, Elizabeth Warren actually introduced legislation that the name of it sounds fantastic. Sounds great. It's called the Anti-Corruption and Public Integrity Act. Problem is, once again, it is stagnation, at best incrementalism. Listen to the part about lobbying. I don't want to put words in her legislation, because I know some of y'all might think I'm gonna be a little too harsh on her. I want to put words in legislation, but I'm gonna read some of it to you. It says, Title 2 of the legislation, by the way, end lobbying as we know it. Oh, wow, we're just going to end lobbying, right? That's what you would think it is. But no, this is what it means. This is what she's talking about. Institute radical transparency of all Washington lobbying. Publicly expose all influence peddling in Washington. Strengthen and expand the federal definition of lobbyists to include all individuals paid to influence government. Create a new corporate lobbyist definition that identifies individuals. Listen, if Tulsi Gabbard introduces legislation, or if Bernie Sanders introduces legislation, how many words do you think it would take to say no more corporate lobbying in Washington, period, point blank? because that's what it should say. But she's introducing changes that she knows would most likely not affect anything. It wouldn't change anything. She knows this. That's why even though she's introduced this, she's still being propped up. We know who gets lobbying money now for the most part. We can find who's being influenced in what ways now in the information age. The problem isn't the transparency or lack thereof at this point. The problem, unfortunately, is that the money is so overwhelming that our opinions no longer count. That's the problem, Liz. This is not progressive. This is bare minimum. We're going to fight to keep files, to be transparent on people who are exchanging money for favors. Wow. That's bold. And also, it's your bookkeeping. That's what we call basic bookkeeping in the administrative world. That's not anti-corruption. That's making sure that you date, you give a timestamp to corruption. You have some dollar signs behind the corruption. You give an exact name to the corruption, but that is not anti-corruption. It is administrative corruption. We also have to ask this. What do I always say about Elizabeth Warren? I have a plan. What do I always say about her plans? Why didn't you introduce this plan in the entire time you've been in the Senate? Where was this plan at? Because I got curious because I always hear about her finance. She's good at finance. She's good when it comes to finance. No. This anti-corruption legislation is incrementalist at best. You can look it up. At best, incrementalist. But guess what's not on her website, which you can also look up? She doesn't say anything about getting big money out of politics. I wonder why that is. Because if she said the words, it's time to get big money out of politics and etched it in stone, who do you think would stop donating to her? Who do you think wouldn't give her money during the general election? So if she's not advocating to get big money out of politics, if she got elected, what are the odds that we would get big money out of politics? Out of curiosity. Why didn't she introduce this anti-corruption legislation? Because some of it talks about the revolving door policy, quid pro quo behavior, divesting, things like that. Basic concepts. Things that are actually already covered in the concept. Like, there are already these regulations on Congress people that they're just not being enforced. But there's this problem. You didn't introduce this legislation during the Obama era. Why? Because everybody knew that Clinton was running for president. But if you look at the legislation, the parts of it that are, like I said, it's not a bad piece of legislation. It's just incrementalist. But it also says things that are already like the case in a lot of a lot of the Washington statutes. Talks about divesting, getting rid of your conflict of interest. I wonder if there were any conflicts of interest or quid pro quo behavior when Hillary Clinton pushed the Uranium One deal during the Obama administration. The same Hillary Clinton that you endorsed, the same Hillary Clinton that everybody and their mom knew was running for president, even if you weren't paying attention to politics. Why? Because you didn't want to get ostracized. Why? Because you're more worried about ladder climbing. She's not a progressive, guys. I'm sorry. I know it sucks for some people to take it, but the facts are the facts. She's disingenuous. Everything she does is like things that if you have a child, like your 7 or 8-year-old does, or your teenager thinks they can get away with because they tell you a truth, but they know it ain't the whole truth, but they think that they're smarter than you, even though you've been there and done that already. That is Elizabeth Warren. Let's see who covers this. All those people talking about Elizabeth Warren's progressive. Let's see who exposes the truth on this. Thanks for watching that segment of Mikasa Sukasa. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Roku TV, and on JustNForm.com. Also, you can make sure that you're subscribed to the channel by going to the subscribe button, pressing it, and hitting that notification bell to get all of our notifications. And of course, you can help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon by supporting the show by donating as little as $1. You can click on the link in the description below for that. And remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.